Yo, what's going on, guys? Chase the Bro here, and welcome back to another Dark Souls 3 weapon showcase. Today we're going to be looking at the Drang spears, which if you watched my previous stream, you knew I was going to be creating this video because in that stream I realized how overpowered these things are. I cannot believe how long it took me to realize these things were so overpowered. It's just like every other dual wielding weapon, so the L1 is amazing, but this one has a higher percent chance of landing 3 L1s in a row, which causes over 1,000 damage in one combo, so it's just insane. Not only does it have amazing combo potential, it also has insane range. So unlike these cell swords, which have the amazing L1, L2, R2 combo that everybody knows about, those do take some skill to pull off because you do have to be in close range. But with these spears, you can be a meter or two away from your opponent and you're going to get a hit off no matter what. So in my opinion, the Drang spears are a little bit better. I mean, you don't have to be as good as getting in close with these cell swords, and they still have the same combo potential. Although yes, people are going to say it's very parryable, of course. Most weapons are very parryable that are amazing, even the cell swords and every other dual wielding weapon. But if you time your attacks right, you're not going to be parry baited. Just make sure you're switching between your L1s and R1s constantly, and you don't just keep spamming one attack, because then your opponent's going to be able to read it and they're going to get that parry off. Also, the running attacks on spears, the jumping attacks on spears, and the rolling L1 on this thing are all amazing. They have insane range, and they do great damage. On top of all the great things that I've said about this weapon, they also have an insane weapon art. Similar to that of the Astora Greatsword, you use the L2 to initiate a charge, and if you would like to continue the charge longer, you follow it up with the right trigger. And this thing does insane damage if you get them from the beginning of it, but even if you clip them during it, it's still going to do decent damage. You also need to know that these things are buffable. On top of being so amazing, you can buff them. So if you're running a 40 dexterity build with 60 faith for like the Cell Sword Dark Moonblade or whatever dual wielding build you're using with Dark Moonblade, it also works on the spears, which is insane. Now you can create a build that's using the Cell Swords with Dark Moonblade or the Drang Spears with Dark Moonblade, and you could have them both on the same character. How insane is that? You have the ultimate combo weapon, which is good at close combat, and if they're running from you constantly, you can pull out the Drang Spears and use your long combat weapon. This makes a Dexterity Faith build even more overpowered than it already was, and I didn't really think that was possible. Everybody thought that the Cell Swords were the cheapest and the best weapon before. Now, I'm just going to say that the Drang Spears are just as amazing in my opinion. And like I mentioned earlier, their only real weakness is the fact that they're parryable. Every one of their moves except for their running R2 attack is parryable, so you do need to watch out. A lot of people are going to try and pull out a parrying device when fighting you, but if you know how to time your attacks well, you're not going to get parried. Throughout this whole video making experience, I did not get parried once. One guy came really close, he got a partial on me and it kind of scared me, but it turned out okay in the end. As well, if you're someone who's not very comfortable attacking when someone has a parrying shield out and they're spamming that parry button, you can use your kick. It's very viable with this weapon. You can connect your R1 right after it, and it does some quick 300 damage right there. As well, it's going to drain their stamina if they go to parry you while you do the kick, so make good use of that. And let's not forget that these weapons aren't only dual wielding weapons, right? You're using a spear in your right hand, so if you're fighting someone who's constantly R1ing with a straight sword or a curved sword, you can also pull out your parrying shield as well. This weapon is just as viable with one spear, although I much prefer using a dual wield weapon, so I love these things when they're dual wielding. It's also kind of the point of using them, but on the off chance you're fighting someone, like I said, who's spamming and you want to parry them, they're very viable with the one spear as well. And I'm pretty sure I covered all the main topics of the Drang Spears, their damage output, their weaknesses, their strengths, so I'm going to bring you on over to my stat and equipment layout. That way you have an idea of the optimal build stat layout that you should use for this weapon. Alright bros, let me explain the stat layout to you guys. So, the first place I want to draw your attention to is the 60 faith. If you've seen any of my other builds that revolve around Dark Moonblade and dual wielding, you'll know why I have 60 faith, but for those of you who don't, it gives you the highest spell buff with the Yorshka's Chime, and that the spell buff is exactly how much damage you're adding to your weapon. Well, 95% of that spell buff. So, you want that to be as high as you possibly can have it. And I have 40 dexterity because the weapon I'm using scales directly off dexterity, so you want to hit the soft cap with that. And they require 14 strength, so you're going to need your strength to be at 14. Other than that, I just pour the remainder of my points into vigor and endurance. And also, if you didn't start with a mercenary class like I did, you still do need that one attunement slot, so make sure your attunement is at 10 at least. And keep in mind that I'm wearing the prisoner's chain, so my vigor is really only 34, and my endurance is really only 20, and my vitality is really only 10. But yeah, that's pretty much the stat layout, so I'm going to bring you on over to the weapons. I'm using the sharp Drang spears because they have an A scaling and dexterity, and with that I get an AR of 357. But keep in mind that's when they're not buffed. So 357 when not buffed, but when buffed with Dark Moonblade they give me an AR of 592, which is pretty insane for dual wielding spears. They have insane range and they're going to do insane damage now. I use a simple cestus to rebuild my FP pool because I use the weapon art sort of often with this weapon. And the Yorshka's Chime, like you guys know, has the highest spell buff, so I always run that. I'm wearing my favorite armor set, Lothric Knight Helm, Black Hand Armor, Wolf Knight Gauntlets, and the Knight Leggings. On every one of my characters, you're most likely going to see this for a while because I'm in love with it. I'm wearing the Ring of Favor +3, the Chloranthy Ring +3, the Prisoner's Chain like I said, and finally the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring +2. So Dark Moonblade stays on as long as it possibly can. And that's pretty much it for the equipment, guys. You can have whatever else you'd like. You can wear whatever armor you'd like. I just really do recommend some of the things that I've listed. And if you guys enjoyed the video, then do me a favor and like the video. It really helps out my channel, so you'd be doing me a huge favor. And for those of you who really enjoy my videos and would like to support me further, I do have a Patreon, which I'm posting right below. So go check that out. And if you want to help support my dreams, that would mean the world to me as well. So thank you guys. And don't forget to stop by on Monday at 5 p.m. for my live stream. I'll be PvPing with all of you guys, all of my subs, all of my Twitch followers. It'll be a great battle yet again. Let's have just as much fun as we did last time. Thanks for watching, guys. Chase the Bro out.